Hi there. Today I am with Michial, and we are going to share some information with you about appraisals and the time frames and how long it might be taking to have appraisals happen.
Hey, Tamela, it's great to be with you. Michial from Ready Rate here.
Excellent, Michial. How are you doing today? And here recently I've heard, or I've actually experienced, that it's been taking a little bit longer for appraisals to be completed. And we know that that's such an integral part of closing on a property, because many times, although some transactions are able to get through without an appraisal with a mortgage, sometimes it can get waived, but many times that's not the case. And so we wait and we need that appraisal to be completed to know if we're going to move through, and everybody's sitting with bated breath, holding their breath until that appraisal goes through. And I even had a realtor friend here recently that she said it took 47 days. Wow. 47 days for an appraisal to come through, which held them up on closing. And we know the trickle down effect from that when one buyer's waiting to close and the seller's waiting to close. So how are you handling the appraisals now?
Sure. Yeah. The appraisal segment of our industry, I tell you, they've been hit hard during this increase in business that we've all experienced post pandemic. So, and unfortunately, it's a part of the industry that hasn't really grown much as far as the number of appraisers in the marketplace. We see a lot of realtors enter the space when the market heats up. We see a few extra loan officers jump into the game, but you don't see a lot of new appraisers. So what's happened is the appraisers have had to bear the burden with very lean numbers. And not to mention, because interest rates have dropped down so low, their workload has quadrupled. And that's probably a very conservative estimate. So, really what's making appraisals slow down the most is simply that. It's just a lack of people power and so many orders, so many appraisals that have to be completed. So what we found, though, is that there are some ways that you can manage that process better to eliminate the long waiting periods. And one thing that we do at Ready Rate, and we partner with our wholesale partners on this, is we manage the appraisal process in-house. So we made a decision a while back to eliminate the middle person. So we got rid of AMCs, or appraisal management companies. We decided that instead of paying an appraisal management company part of the money, we just took all that money and paid it to the appraisers. And our hope when we started that program was that we would attract more appraisers, more high quality appraisers, because they would have an opportunity to make more money when they work with us. And it's been amazing. It's helped us get our turn times back to under 10 days now, which at certain points it was up over 20. So that has made a huge difference in the transaction from start to finish. To be able to get that appraisal back as quickly as possible is key to closing loans fast. Now, something else that we do at Ready Rate too is we always encourage our borrowers to let us order the appraisal on day one. In the past, we'd often wait to order the appraisal until after the inspection period, or maybe even after loan approval contingencies had passed, just because the borrowers were concerned about spending their money because they have to pay for that appraisal up front. But in this market, we try to discourage the waiting game. We want them to invest that money up front along with their home inspection at the same time as they're doing their home inspection, so that we can get that thing ordered and get the clock started. We want to get that appraisal back within that 10-day period so that we can set ourselves up to close and as fast as possible. And at Ready Rate, our goal is always 20 days or less.
Now, that would be beneficial not only for the buyers, but that's beneficial for sellers. One of the things that we can help sellers with is the seller can request that a buyer have a second opinion. So a second opinion on the mortgage. So as an example, as a listing agent, I put a property on the market and we received an offer, and maybe it's someone that the seller is not familiar with. Maybe it's a company that they've never heard of, or maybe at the top of the letter, it says pre-qualification, which many times is, a neon light goes off for me, because
Sure.
Pre-qualifications were always, hey, we haven't checked your credit, things like that. I know it's changed a little bit now, but that was, at one point, that was a red flag.
Right.
So that's one of the things for sellers to really know as well, is that, a buyer who's bringing a contract can get a second opinion with you and be able to check in. And then that appraisal being done in that first 10 days approximately, then their house isn't off the market for a long period of time. We've come through the inspection, we've come through the appraisal process, And now we're pretty much, I mean, for, a few things, but we pretty much have smooth sailing from there. So that's a benefit to buyers and to sellers, Michial, that you have that now coming in-house. That's huge for everyone. And agents aren't sitting back being concerned as well.
This is true. Yeah, it's been a game changer for us. And we're very lucky to have great partners that have helped support this initiative. And it's made a big difference. Our average close time on loans is only 17 days. We average less than three underwriter touches on every file that we submit. So we're submitting our file on the initial submission. We're submitting the file again when the appraisal comes back. And then sometimes we're submitting for final when the appraisal comes back. So we have a lot of little secrets to our process, not really secrets, just really solid efficiencies to help ensure that we're closing things fast. But the appraisal is a key component. Without that appraised value back, there's still a lot of uncertainty. The sellers don't know, the buyers don't know, and everybody, like you said, is anxious to get that number in. So whatever we can do to speed that process up, we are all about it. And the other thing that we see a lot on appraisals right now, I guess I shouldn't say a lot, but it happens more than it ever has before, I can tell you that. And that's short appraisals. So, I believe that your lending partner, the mortgage company that you partner with, has got to be a true partner when it comes to appraisal issues. And what I mean by that is offering options or alternatives. Always remember the number one way to save a deal when an appraisal comes in short, obviously after trying to renegotiate terms between buyer or seller, is to get with your mortgage company and see if there are any alternative financing strategies that can be implemented. So like, for example, if a borrower is putting 20% down and their appraisal comes in 5% short, well, if the seller's not willing to budge, we could always adjust their down payment from 20% to 15%. And they would still come to closing with the same amount of money, still get the house that they want. Everything would come together. The only negative for the borrower, for the buyer, would be the addition of mortgage insurance. But if their credit score is solid, that is such an insignificant cost to be able to buy the dream home that they're after. So that's another important thing to keep in mind too. Just because an appraisal comes in short doesn't mean the deal's dead. That's for sure.
And that doesn't matter. That is not restricted to any type of mortgage that they get, correct? In other words, that's conventional. That's I guess that would be restrictive on VA maybe, but the amount of money that the borrower could bring to make up that difference, right?
Yeah,
Am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct. And what we see a lot, and I know you do this because I've heard you talk to me about it in the past or question me on it in the past, but a great listing agent is always going to consider offers where the borrower is putting more down than the minimum required. And as long as there's a little bit of wiggle room in there between what they're putting down and what the minimum down payment required is for their particular loan program, then it makes renegotiating appraisals a lot easier, no doubt about it. And until we turn the corner, which we will eventually, and it becomes more of a buyer market, you've got to be able to figure out ways to satisfy the seller's demands and at the same time deliver on the buyer's dreams.
Absolutely. And I love the way you put that. And, I want to compliment you because it's absolutely a wonderful pleasure. I've been in this an awfully long time. I have to date myself a little bit, but I absolutely love working with you and your team because you keep me updated. You keep the buyers updated. You keep them on schedule. You keep everyone, the title company, everyone knows what's happening. And that is a testament to the systems that you've put into place. You've really put those systems into place. So it's a confidence knowing that when the buyers are working with you, that I can kind of put my hands up and I don't have to be quite as hands-on because you're giving the information back. It can be difficult as an agent, whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, depending, if you're working with the listing, trying to make sure that mortgage is going through as well, because
Sure.
even listing agents need to be monitoring that mortgage,
Absolutely.
or at least monitoring with the buyer's agent. And on the other side, working with a buyer, it's so important because we really want them to have their dream. Their dream is ultimately both the buyer and the seller. The dream for the seller is to sell and the dream for the buyer is to buy. And really, we're here to facilitate as a team to get there. So I'm grateful for the way you work.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you. And yeah, I appreciate working with you too. This game of real estate is definitely a team sport, and you've got to partner yourself with teammates who you can trust, who can throw that Hail Mary pass and catch the ball in the end zone whenever it needs to happen. So I appreciate you saying that. And, we're real excited at Ready Rate. Our mission is really simple, and that is to make an impact in the lives of people, to make their lives better. And we do it one mortgage at a time. And we have some very good processes that we're committed to ensure that we are the fastest in the business and that we're the most competitive when it comes to rate. We don't charge lender fees at Ready Rate. We have a best rate guarantee.